Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at theDove.us. Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Delighted to have Nisha Jackson back in the house from Ventana Wellness. And today is, we've been telling you all day long, today is National Junk Food Day. But I have to ask, Nisha, because Steve wants me to ask you this. Is there anything in the junk food menu that possibly could pass as being okay?
Well, no, there isn't. I hate to be a downer on this Monday. There really isn't, because just by the nature of the name, junk probably means everything's axed.
So a low-carb burger doesn't work?
We could disguise things as junk.
But if you wrap the burger in lettuce... Come on, work with me here.
Yes. But hamburgers really aren't junk food.
Okay, that's...
You know, that's kind of that is a meal.
That's protein.
Yes, absolutely. And if you had a high-fiber bun, or you didn't have the bun at all, like you said, wrapped in lettuce, that's a meal. That's not really junk food.
Okay.
You know, when I think about junk food, I think about artificial colorings, preservatives, typically has gluten in it. So that's what I think about when I think about junk food.
All right,
so I think all of that stuff should be axed.
Live on television. Does Nisha Jackson have a favorite junk food?
You know what? I love peanut butter. Even though peanut butter is not really a junk food, I love peanut butter. And if you mix peanut butter with chocolate,
you're done.
Oh, yeah. So Reese's peanut butter cups. Huge weakness.
Well, I made the admittance. Mine is the caramel cashew cookie at Trader Joe's.
Oh.
And I don't know why they put the word caramel in there, because I've yet to taste it. But it's a butter cookie with cashews in it. And I have to tell you, I guarantee you cannot eat one.
That's a problem.
All right. So all this junk food does take its toll on our brain, right?
What, National Junk Food Day? I don't get it. So that today is actually National Junk Food Day?
You know, this must have been put out by fast food people. Yeah, it is National Junk Food Day.
Wow,
so,
okay.
Anyway, it's also,
don't adhere to it.
It's also Get Out of the Doghouse Day, so I don't know what Rick's done, but let him go, okay? All right, so let's talk about our brains today.
Yes. You know, so many people, Perry, are worried. I get this email all the time and these questions in the office. What's wrong with me? Why can't I remember anything? I'm missing words. My concentration is really poor. Somebody will look right at me and say something, and I don't know what they're saying. I can't remember it. And people are legitimately worried about their brains. And I've even felt like that at times, you know, where you're kind of worried, like, what's going on? Yeah. So there are some simple things that you can do that really will help boost your brain's power that I thought we should talk about today.
Let's do that, because I don't know if it's a sign of the times or if it's the digital world that we live in. Are we on overload? What are we doing to ourselves?
Well, I think that is, you know, if you just kind of step back for a minute and you say, why can't I remember something that somebody just told me 3 minutes ago or 2 hours ago? You know, that happes all the time. People actually walk into the bathroom and forget why they're there. So maybe that's more of a female thing.
No. I think women admit it, men don't.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that if you step back a little bit and you look at the situation, it's easy to say our brains were not really designed to be able to process the way we try to make them process. And women are more notorious for this, and that is having 5 or 6 things going on. Like when we're talking like this, we should be focusing on what we're talking about. We should be personally engaged with our conversation. Just pretend. You know, but what we're doing is we're thinking about, we got to go pick up the kids. You know, I'm late for the next appointment. I've got to make sure I get gas in the car. I mean, our brain is in so many different directions. No wonder by the end of the day, we don't really have patience for our family members, or we don't really act the way we want to act, because we're just absolutely mentally fried. So I think that is the first and the easiest thing for us. Well, maybe it's not the easiest thing, but the first thing that we can do is to just concentrate and focus on the person who's in front of you. Whether it be your children, your coworkers, or the task at hand. Because if you find yourself with your brain wandering to 2 or 3 different things, most likely you're not going to remember what you're doing. And it won't be a memorable experience, which could be a hazard for your job, but could also be not a pleasant thing for somebody else that said, I just told you that. Why aren't you focusing? So there really isn't probably dementia setting in. It's most likely that you're not focusing on one thing at a time. And this does change as you get older. I think men and women, especially women, are able to go between multiple tasks before the age of 30. And after the age of 30, 35, they have a very difficult time being able to process many things at one time. But just remember, our brain really wasn't designed to do that to begin with. So we're asking more of it than we should.
Okay.
So, exercise. A recent study actually showed that 3 days for 15 minutes of jogging grew thousands of new brain cells. Thousands.
Wow.
That is, yeah, so that, I'm sure that translates to any form of exercise, because all you're doing, Perry, is you're circulating oxygen to the brain. So if we're sitting all day and processing mentally and we're not moving around, and so we have reduced oxygen to the brain, you will not be able to generate new brain cells as quickly as you could if you'd get up and move around. Isn't that fascinating? Whoa. I thought there's hope for me. I can grow new brain cells
well, listen,
at 50.
You're a walker. I know you get out and go for it, so you're doing okay.
Yeah. And being in nature, I think, you know, they've done a lot of research on exercise in nature, and we know that just being in nature makes a big difference with growing new brain cells and developing your brain. Also, I'm not a big napper. In fact, I really don't nap at all. But after reading the recent research about napping, I'm kind of more interested in napping.
I took 2 lengthy naps over the weekend.
You do that often, don't you, on the weekend? That's good.
I get up at 3:34, so.
Yeah, that's good. So napping after lunch has shown to revitalize the brain and enhances your memory dramatically, even 10 minutes after lunch. Now, for some reason, the study was focused on after lunch. They did look at napping prior to lunch, but they found out that it was more effective right after lunch, but before 2 or 3 p.m. So if you're napping after 2 to 3 p.m., the problem is that you're going to interfere with your sleep patterns at night.
Okay.
So napping before 2 to 3 p.m. is pretty important.
I'm all for it.
Yes. So, and just remember 10 to 30 minutes and no longer than that is what the study was focused on with improving your ability to remember things.
All right. And stay focused.
Yes.
Now, is there any supplements involved in any of this?
Yes. Magnesium is one of the best supplements, and so is carnitine for brain power. I've actually had the most success using carnitine, which is an amino acid in my office, to help boost brain power. I think all amino acids are probably pretty good for the brain. So amino acids are byproducts of protein, right? So from a diet standpoint, it's really important to try to eat foods that are not inflammatory. So protein is a brain food. It's also a muscle food. And eating more protein and also more magnesium helps stimulate the brain. So foods that are rich in magnesium, nuts and seeds, are also very good for the brain.
Where does the magnesium-calcium thing come into play?
Well, the magnesium and calcium is important. You know, calcium is, you could take 1 trillion milligrams of calcium a day, and it wouldn't make any difference if you don't have enough vitamin D and magnesium. So vitamin D and magnesium actually help the absorption of the calcium into the bone. So it's real important that you have enough vitamin D in your diet and that you're supplementing with it. It's almost impossible to get enough vitamin D in your diet. You really do need to supplement with it. Okay. So, and the calcium-magnesium ratio, just in case most people don't know this, your magnesium should be about half of your calcium dose. So that's just an easy way to try to remember it. Magnesium is about half. But magnesium is very good for the brain. It relaxes the brain, so it is able to take in more information. So magnesium is very important for the chemical processing of our thoughts, and also has been shown to enhance memory and concentration and word finding.
I take 1 a day.
1 magnesium a day?
Tablet.
Oh, nice. Now, magnesium...
I think that's what it is, if I remembered it. No. Yeah, it's magnesium. I remember the M on the bottle.
Yes. So one thing that people often don't realize, that magnesium, I believe, should be taken in the evening because it's a relaxant. So... and some people, it actually makes them sleepy. Like, I could take magnesium in the evening, and within an hour, I'm very sleepy. So that's the other thing that you should try to remember. Now, 2 other things I want to talk about for boosting the brain that have to do with our summertime. Number 1 is sunbathing. sunbathing has been shown in multiple studies, but a more recent study that was pretty profound, to significantly reduce the incidence of dementia. Sunbathing. Now, we're not talking about going and frying our skin and developing skin problems. But I think any time in medicine, and we've had this discussion before, any time in medicine that you hear someone say, never do this, and it's something as natural as the sun, you have to be a little bit cautious about that information, because the sun is so important. I mean, why would we have the sun? Right?
Yeah,
the sun is a natural element. Yeah, exactly. We get vitamin D, but they've also found that it actually stimulates brain cells to be out in the sun. Now, I'm going to tie that into nature, because I think being in nature is also really important. But the sun has shown to significantly reduce the incidence of dementia, but it's only about 20 to 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week. Okay. So we're not talking about, again, frying your skin.
Okay. And the other one?
Yes, one more. Mowing the lawn. I'm not kidding you. We have a study now. Actually, we have several studies, but
is it the cut grass? No.
Yes, exactly.
It is?
Yes, they have found that the aroma that is elicited from mowing the lawn actually stimulates new brain cells to be formed, and for people to be relaxed to the point that they can remember things better. Is that amazing? It's so, the study was so significant.
Did men come up with this as an excuse to get their wives to mow the lawn?
Yeah. The study was so significant, they actually came out with a perfume that's called Udamo.
Udamo.
And it's actually the scent of fresh cut grass. I'm not kidding.
Okay. All right. Well, you heard it here on the Dove.
That's right. But I thought that's sort of applicable to the summertime, you know.
All right. So we got magnesium, vitamin D, 20 to 30 minutes 3 times a week for the sunshine.
Right.
And get out and mow the grass once a week.
Exactly. Hydrate yourself, and exercise.
And take a walk, yeah.
That's right. In nature, even better.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, she's got 10 gut items. Yeah, really. For your gut, right?
Yes.
Okay. We'll be right back with Nisha Jackson. Okay, we're back with Nisha Jackson from Veritas Counseling. By the way, Veritas Counseling. I'm sorry, that's Patrick. I apologize. Ventana Wellness.
Maybe that's where I'll be heading after
I
this.
wasn't focused. See, I didn't take my magnesium this morning. Anyway, ventanawellness.com. Check it out. It's an incredible resource, a great clinic, and great services there for you to check out. And that's ventanawellness.com. And, of course, I've been seeing Tim McCurdy the last couple of weeks.
Oh.
And you talk about the sun thing. I have to wear big brim hats.
Yes.
So, because I had a little problem.
Yes.
But he took care of it.
Yes.
He froze my brain. He had that little gun and go like that.
He is a great skin specialist.
Yeah. Anyway.
He's got those laser eyes on those little spots on your body.
Okay. So you want to help our gut too. We got our brain figured out.
Yes.
We got a lot of gut problems going on.
Yes, you know, I think many people make the mistake of thinking that their gut is basically related to, like, if you have stomach pain or you have bowel problems or you have indigestion, that's really what your gut is all about. But your gut is the foundation of your entire health. It's really where your health begins. And so, and also the interesting thing about your gut is 60 to 80% of your entire immune system is located in the gut. So what we see now, we know so much more about the gut than we used to from a medical standpoint. But now what we see is that we see chronic problems stemming from gut issues, meaning just basic gut issues like you're eating bad food, you're not replacing good food, you don't have the right bacteria in the gut, and those are some of the things I want to just briefly go over today. But you can develop autoimmune disorders such as fibromyalgia, arthritis. You can also have hormonal imbalances. You can have problems with, again, memory and concentration, serious skin issues just from not having the right gut balance. So I know that this is becoming more and more of a topic of interest to people because they want to know that what they're eating and all these supplements that they're paying to take, you know, they're paying money to buy them and take them, they want to make sure that they're getting the best benefit from them. And that all starts in the gut.
Okay. Well, let's go through the 10 problems or 10 issues.
Yes. So you know you have a gut problem if here are 10 things that may be going on that could be predisposing you to a gut problem, and then we're going to talk about what you can do about that. Food allergies and sensitivities, of course, is a big one. The other one is if you have chronic anxiety or even more acute anxiety, so you haven't really suffered from it in the past or your anxiety is getting worse, that actually could be something that's going on from the gut level, such as if your gut is not absorbing B vitamins as well as it has in the past, you will not be able to make the neurobrain chemicals that help keep you calm as much as you did in the past. So that's just something to kind of, you don't think really about anxiety in the gut. Depression, mood swings and irritability, skin problems like rosacea, even new brown patches on your skin. Some people relate to those as liver spots, could be something that's going on with the gut. Diabetes, I said autoimmune disorders, if you're getting frequent infections, and that could be even infections in the ear, infections on the skin that are not healing well. And then, of course, there's the bloating, the gas, the diarrhea, or the combination of irritable bowel symptoms that have you go between constipation and diarrhea. So if any of those things are going on, I think the gut is a good place to start. And there's many things that people can do on their own. In fact, if you've already been to the healthcare provider and they said, well, there's nothing wrong, I don't really know why you're having this problem, so just eat better and live right. So if you get the information that everything's okay from a gut standpoint and you've been checked out, or if you want to just start getting healthier, here's some tips that you can use to start changing the gut health.
All right.
The first one is what we talk about, it seems like every single time on this show, and that is remove the inflammatory foods. So those would be junk foods.
Sugar.
Junk foods. Foods that your body typically are man-made, and your body has no purpose for them. So if you're drinking, if you're drinking alcohol, drinking excessive caffeine, artificial colorings, artificial preservatives, if there are more ingredients on the box that you're eating, you know, the food that's in the box that you're eating that you can't pronounce, you probably shouldn't even eat it. So getting back to the basics, and that is taking the inflammatory foods out, because many of the food sensitivities originate from all these chemicals that we're taking in, especially soft drinks too. That's another thing that we should probably get rid of. Replacing the good foods, so replacing the foods that cause our body to have enough antioxidants that we can fight all of this bad stuff, the free radicals that come from the poor eating that we've been doing. So basically any food that's really colorful, fruits and vegetables, but as many vegetables as possible and as high a fiber as possible. And eliminating foods that cause inflammation, but replacing them with foods that really provide a better balance for the gut. The other thing is re-inoculating your gut, and that is starting to use digestive enzymes, bringing digestive enzymes back into the gut, and also the lactobacilli, which is like acidophilus. Lactobacilli eating about 50 billion units of the lactobacilli a day will actually put the good bacteria in the gut and will help fight the overgrowth of other yeast organisms that might be there, keeping you from digesting your food.
Such as what?
Just a supplement that you can purchase over the counter.
Okay.
Yeah. And then L-glutamine is another supplement that we often use in our office to help repair the gut lining, because sometimes what happens is that if you have chronic yeast in your gut, or you've been eating very poorly. This happens a lot with children, where they're eating just junk food all of the time, and they're not getting a good balance of colorful foods in their diet. They actually start eroding the gut lining. So adding L-glutamine back in can really help repair that, especially people who have struggled with alcoholism in the past should be on L-glutamine, because repairing that gut lining will allow them to have better absorption of their nutrients from their foods, which helps the brain, it helps the nervous system, it helps weight. So people who struggle with chronic weight gain or inability to lose weight do much better if they get the gut back into balance.
Okay. You're getting it here. All right. All right. So is there anything you can take to curb sugar addiction?
Yes. The first thing for sugar addiction, this is probably appropriate to talk about on Junk Food Day. Yes. Because I think many people are beating themselves up because they're so addicted to sugar and they don't know what to do about it. And it's very scary is what it is. But the first thing that you have to remember is if you have a family history of alcoholism, obesity, diabetes, or sugaraholics, which really transcends, transcends a lot of segments of the population, you're going to be more at risk for having a sugar addiction. So, you know, we've talked a lot about how do you know you're a sugaraholic, and basically we could sum it up very quickly by saying if you're full and you're not hungry at all and someone puts a plate of warm chocolate chip cookies in front of you, what would you do with them? And if you have a sugar sensitivity or you're a sugaraholic like me, you would imagine eating many of the cookies. You would imagine yourself going to the refrigerator and getting a glass of milk, and you would smell them. Your mouth would be salivating. So there's different levels.
Yes.
There's different levels of sugaraholics, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing to know, is that if you have a problem, don't set yourself up for failure. Get the food out of your house. If you have a lot of sugar items in your home and you say, well, it's just because my kids like them, your kids don't need them either. There's zero nutrients in sugary foods. So get them away from you so you're not tempted. If you were an alcoholic, you would not keep, you know, alcohol in your cupboards and say, well, I'm just going to try to stay away from it. You wouldn't have it in your house. So I think that that's one thing that is important to remember. The other thing is chromium is a very important mineral that helps stabilize your insulin and your glucose levels. So taking chromium, 200 micrograms before each meal, can be very helpful for people that are really struggling with it. And then making sure that you're eating, I call it infant style, so eating about every 2 to 3 hours, something small that has protein and a good carbohydrate in it, so that you're keeping your blood sugar very balanced throughout the day. Because the problem is if you go more than 3 to 4 hours without eating and you have kind of a sugar sensitivity problem, the issue is that when your blood sugar drops, your brain is not going to scream broccoli. It's going to scream chocolate or sugar, right?
Right.
So it's just working with yourself and just realizing, I kind of have this problem. I love sugar. Sugar is readily available. It's very socially acceptable. So I'm going to do what my body needs in order to keep my blood sugar balanced. I'm going to keep my nutrients high in my diet, lots of colorful foods, and I'm going to take supplements like chromium. I'm going to make sure I get good sleep at night, because, you know, we eat junk food when we're tired. It's kind of a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Or stressed.
Or crunchy. Anything that's crunchy.
Yes. I would rather people suck on a pacifier than eat something crunchy, because sometimes it just comes down to we're just eating too much food, you know?
Yeah.
So that little pressure point in the roof of the mouth, when it's pressed, it calms people down. So that's why I say pacifier, because that's why people eat. It calms them down. But really, it's that pressure point. So maybe just stick your thumb in your mouth or something.
Okay.
We're going in all sorts of directions today.
Yeah, boy, that's wonderful. All right, again, VentanaWellness.com, check it out. And by the way, there's a gazillion cleanses out there. What do you recommend to start? Because a lot of people realize, hey, wait, I got to stop here. I got to do a lifestyle change, and I got to clean myself out.
Yes, the cleanse, there are many cleanses out there, but I really think the easiest and best cleanse for people to do is take out all the sugar and all the flour out of the diet. So anything that's made from flour or sugar, drink a lot of water, take a good liver support supplement. That's the key, is liver support supplement. Get the gut back into balance and do it for 10 days straight. And eating regularly throughout the day and not past about 7 or 7:30 at night. So giving your gut exactly what it needs and nothing that it doesn't need.
Well, thanks for helping us balance National Junk Food Day.
You're welcome.
And again, VentanaWellness.com, great resource, clinic full of just great professionals to help you with all of these issues, headed up by Nisha Jackson. So check it out. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, next
Have a
time
great
we'll
week.
do some family planning, maybe?
Yes.
Are you getting more involved in that now?
Kind of. Yeah.
Fertility issues?
Not personally, but
I got to get you and Patrick on the same show. All right, VentanaWellness.com. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back, and we are honored to have back with us today David Rubin, and of course David is a former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, and he's also heads up Shiloh Israel Children's Fund. Delighted to have him with us today, and we've been praying for him and all of those in Israel with what's going on over there, and our hearts and are with them. And David, nice to have you, my friend. Thank you for your time. Can you give us an update? How's it going?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back on. It's been a very difficult time here, obviously, and Israel has been absorbing tons of rocket attacks. I mean, not tons of rocket attacks, thousands of rocket attacks just in the past few weeks. And the country has united, though, as it always does happen during wartime in Israel. The country unites, all the different segments, all the different factions come together as a family, and we're fighting a noble cause for the land of Israel, for the state of Israel, and for the free world. We're fighting against a bunch of extreme Islamic radicals who are trying to destroy Israel, who aim at civilians, who try to kill civilians. They fire their rockets intentionally at the hearts of cities. Unlike Israel, of course, it goes after military targets, and so it's a very noble battle that we're fighting here. But it's a very difficult one because much of the world is reflexively against us. They accept this left-wing and Muslim narrative that says that Israel is harming civilians, which is just total nonsense and total scandal. That anyone would even say such a thing.
Couple things here, David. First of all, you wrote a series of articles there in the Jerusalem Post, certainly hoping that the Prime Minister would read them, and basically you were saying, let's go in and let's do it complete and then get out. And it appears that's what's happening. They have targeted these tunnels. They seem to be committed to complete the job. Even our own Secretary of State has said somewhat in a sarcastic way, it seems to be a very pinpoint operation. I mean, if anything, you're teaching the world how to do war, but for your own sake, it appears that the strategy is what you were asking for in your recent articles.
Yeah, well, let me first point out that the articles that I write on a regular basis, although I have had some articles in Jerusalem Post, most of my articles have been in IsraelNationalNews.com.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry about that.
I just want to point that out, commonly known as Arutz Sheva, using the Hebrew name. Anyhow, so I encourage anyone who wants to read those articles to go to IsraelNationalNews.com or to my website, which is davidrubinisrael.com. Now, as far as the actual things that I've been writing, I have been urging Israel to fight the war to win the war. But at no point have I said that Israel has to do it quickly and get out. I say do it massively, as quickly as possible. But I personally do not believe that Israel should get out because I don't think that we can trust that if Israel gets out, that there is going to be peace. Where as long as the Hamas terrorist organization is left intact, there's not going to be peace. I say that the terrorist organizations, not only we have to destroy the tunnels, the complex tunnels that they've built, not the hundreds of tunnels, I should add, for weapons smuggling and terrorist smuggling. Not only do we have to take away all of their weapons, but we have to destroy them as organizations, as terrorist organizations, the Hamas, the Islamic Jihad, at the minimum. And I also think that the Fatah terrorists of the Palestinian Authority have to be wiped out, and that Israel's sovereignty should eventually be declared over Gaza, and Jews should be allowed to come back and live there. If they really want peace, they shouldn't have any problem with a few Jews building homes.
Okay, given that statement, do you feel that the current offense is has that agenda in mind?
Well, the current offensive has a slightly different agenda. The agenda of the current offensive is very minimal. The goals have been up to this point to hit pinpoint strikes on the military targets. Then the follow-up goal has been to launch a ground war to destroy the arms smuggling tunnels, and so that has been the goal up to this point. At this point, the cabinet is reconsidering, and as the operation continues, if the Hamas rocket attacks continue, then I'm sure you will see the next steps taking place. Step by step, this is going to happen. If the Hamas lays down their arms completely, if they decide to completely lay down their arms, then you will see Israel holding its fire, and there probably will be a ceasefire, and the follow-up steps won't be taken. Although I still think that they should, if we want to end this for the long term.
There is a move, I don't know if you're aware of it, in the United States by certain Christian groups to petition Congress to defund Hamas. We're spending about $400 million a year in aid to Hamas, and now that seems to be hypocritical in light of our lack of foreign policy. But nonetheless, among the faith community, there seems to be a strong move to ask Congress to defund Hamas. Would that help?
Oh, certainly. It's absolutely ridiculous that Hamas is being funded by anybody, and frankly, it is ridiculous that Fatah is being funded by anybody. That the Palestinian Authority is given financial assistance. Let me point out to you and point out to all of your viewers that the Palestinian Authority of Mahmoud Abbas, which is in a unity government with the Hamas, is paying the salaries of the terrorists. Every single terrorist that commits a terrorist attack, whether he's from Hamas or from Islamic Jihad or from Fatah or even from Al-Qaeda, is given a salary, a monthly salary, by the Palestinian Authority. This is all documented. And it's very disturbing to me that the media doesn't talk about this and pretends that the Palestinian Authority is the good guys. There are no good guys over there. Not the Hamas, not the Fatah, and not the Islamic Jihad.
All right. Now, is it true that they are firing their missiles from homes and schools and targeting just citizen areas throughout Israel?
Absolutely. That's a central part of their propaganda war. They've been doing it for years. They fine-tuned it to a great art. And yes, what they do is they set up their weapons warehouses, and they set up their missile launching pads, and they set up their bomb factories in schools, in mosques, in kindergartens, and in homes. And this is a way of preventing Israel from attacking. And then, of course, Israel attacks because we do have to get to those military targets. And after Israel attacks, well, the media is rushing there and pointing out how Israel is committing genocide by hurting civilians.
Yeah.
Well, the civilians can leave if they want to, but the fact is that those civilians are the same civilians who supported the Hamas and voted for the Hamas in their elections back in 2005. Of course, they haven't had elections since then because they don't believe in democracy in any shape and form. But and neither does Abbas, by the way, who's a president for life.
People need to know that Israel did go in and cover the area with leaflets, letting them know that they're coming in for civilians to leave. Some heeded the warning, some did not.
Absolutely. Israel drops leaflets before it attacks. Israel shouts out on loudspeakers, "Here we come," 48 hours in advance. frankly, I think it sounds really nice and really touchy-feely, but the fact is that it puts our soldiers in danger and it hurts the effectiveness of our military operation. Every single general will tell you that a war has never been won and won decisively if leaflets are handed out, if 48-hour warnings are given to the terrorists. Yes, the warnings are given to civilians, but the fact is that the terrorists are also receiving these warnings. So why do it? Why put your military forces at risk? And remember, our military forces aren't just professional soldiers. They are 18 and 20-year-old boys who and reserve soldiers. Our soldiers are our children and our family members, and every single Israeli is a potential soldier.
Finally, David, we're out of time here, but a couple of things. Number one, how long do you think this offensive will go on? And number two, how can we pray for you?
Well, we certainly need those prayers, and everyone needs to be praying for Israel to be fighting this war to win. That Israel should be fighting the war the way it fought the war against the Midianites, to utterly destroy the enemy, and by destroying the enemy, we will win the war. So how long will it go on? That depends on a combination of Israel's determination, world pressure on Israel, and internal pressure from the overwhelming majority of the Israeli people that want Israel to continue this action and to broaden it and to win decisively.
Well, thank you, my friend. You personally and your family are in our prayers, plus your country. Let me just say you can correspond with David, davidrubinisrael.com, or you can support him through the Shiloh Israel Children's.org and support their fund there. David, thank you, my friend. We honor every minute we have with you and look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for your prayers.
All right. God bless. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Coming up in just a few moments, we're going to have Todd Akin with us. He's authored a book, pretty powerful book, called Firing Back. You may want to check this out, and that is taking on the party bosses and media elite to protect our faith and freedom. Todd's an interesting gentleman. He's a six-term congressman from the state of Missouri in the 2nd Congressional District. He chaired and was member of several leading committees while serving in Congress. And he was actually rated as one of the top House conservatives. But in the meantime, his own party threw him under the bus, not once, but turned around and ran over him a few times. So what is this divide all about? What's happening to the Republican Party? And can they get their act together to win not only the White House, but maybe to take back the Senate and keep the House? Well, he's got a lot to say about that, and we're honored to have him for just a few moments on the phone today. Todd, nice to have you, my friend.
Terry, it's a pleasure to join you as well.
Yeah.
And your good audience.
Well, you are a fast-tracking guy, so I appreciate the few moments you're giving us. Why'd you write this book?
Well, it's the same reason I served for 24 years in public office, and that is I have a very deep passion for good ideas and believe in how bad ideas are. And that's kind of the way I saw it. I always looked at things that, what are the things that make people free and prosperous and allow them to chase the dream that God puts in their hearts? And what are the things that bring poverty and death and slavery and all kinds of bad things? And so I always tried to be a salesman for good ideas, and writing this book was no different. But the book was kind of fun to write because we had a whale of a story with the campaign, a lot of interesting anecdotes. But there are a couple themes that I do push in the book, and one is the tremendous deceitfulness of the national media, and the second one is the rather foolish things that the Senate Republicans and Karl Rove are doing in their U.S. Senate election.
Interesting. I served as state chairman for the Oregon Republican Party for 4 years and got thrown under the bus, so maybe you and I ought to have a party.
Yes, the bottom side of the bus party. Yeah. They didn't leave me in the battlefield. They marched out in the battlefield after I was wounded to try to put me out of my misery. And ultimately, the comments that were made by top Republican leaders were used by the Democrats in a very effective TV ad to put me under. But the thing that I think that's interesting, because I'm kind of moving beyond 2012, because I think my book really is increasingly applies now in the season we're in, and that is, you've seen in Mississippi and other places, the Republican Senate leadership is putting a lot of money into trying to pick the candidates that they want. I've been in politics 24 years, and that does not make good sense. The first reason is that you want to save your money for the last few weeks of general election. That's when most people are making up their minds, even though it doesn't sound reasonable. So you don't want to burn your money in a primary against your own party. That just isn't very smart. The second thing that isn't very smart, let's say you've got some state, let's just say Mississippi, and if maybe the Republicans are divided between two candidates, somebody who's a little more conservative, a little more aggressive, and somebody that's an old time, been there a long time. Well, when you put money into one of those sides of that campaign, you're antagonizing half the Republicans and activists in the state. They're not going to give you any money. They're going to be mad, and it's just going to create chaos within the Republican Party in the state. So those are two very good reasons, aside from the arrogance of thinking you know better than the people of the state. In other words, I say I favor elections, not selection. And unfortunately, the Senate leadership is doing that, and it's a good way to throw away another cycle of races. Yeah,
you can almost see it happening again. Let me move forward and come back a little bit. Through all of this, you've stayed steady. How has your faith been a part of your steadiness and recovery from being treated the way you have been?
Well, Perry, thank you for asking that question. And I won't trivialize it. First, we lost the first race I'd ever lost in 24 years. Okay? So people that say conservatives can't get elected. I was a Christian when I went in. I was a Reagan conservative when I went in. 24 years later, same thing. Got elected, never lost the race. So conservatives can get elected. In my case, what happened was, first we lost the race, which was a shock, and then 2 days later found out that we had made a mistake using our computers and ended up owing about $250,000.
Whoa.
And I hate debt. I never had any debt in any of my campaigns. We always planned it so we had a little money left over, figured God would give us what we needed. And this time, there was the problem with the software. It was new software. And so it was sort of a double kick in the seat. And my wife got a book by Merlin Carruthers from back in the 70s. He was a chaplain, and he'd talk to people that had huge problems. And he'd say, let's praise God and thank God for that. And you think this guy's smoking those weird cigarettes, you know. And in fact, what he was doing, he says, look, this is what the Bible says. When things go wrong, you're supposed to praise God, thank Him for it, and look forward to what He's doing in that situation. So it took me a month or two practicing, you know, saying, God, I'm really thankful we lost this race and owe all this money. You know, I kind of say it through clenched teeth. But after a while, I realized, but look, God's in. And fortunately, when we lost that night, my first comment, because that's what the media was going to pick up, I said, look, I know you're as disappointed as I am, but we have to remember this, that God is the guy in charge of history, and He makes no mistakes. And we need to be thankful to that's what first came out of my mouth in front of all those microphones when we lost. And, of course, the liberal media made fun of me for saying that,
right.
But I'm glad that that was my instinctive response. So over a period of 6 months, I got at least somewhat rehabilitated. My kids said that I looked old and pretty shot for about 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So it took a while. I don't mean to make anything light of it, but I think that was the lesson to me was, you know, things don't always go the way you want, and you're supposed to just trust God and keep moving forward.
Well, Todd, you have seen the raw of it, myself a little bit, but you've seen really the raw of it, both inside the party and out and through the media, which now has an agenda, which certainly isn't reporting the news. It's literally creating it.
Yeah, that's something I'd love to pile on, too, depending how much time you have, Terry, but I think we ought to talk about that subject.
Well, I'm going to have you back. I only got about 4 minutes left, so I would love to have you back and talk at length about that, because I am concerned about it, especially with this upcoming election cycle.
Yeah.
But a couple things going on. Can you comment on open primaries and how that works against us?
open primaries, well, the way it works, I'm not as familiar in all. Each state has their own procedure. In the state of Missouri, we have, I guess you'd call it an open primary because you don't have to declare what party you're in.
Right.
But there's only the voting is just for one day. So if you're a Democrat, you could theoretically cross over in the primary, but usually there are enough races in the state that I don't know that there's a lot of that crossover. Okay.
Yeah.
But in the state of Missouri, we do not have voters registered by party. And theoretically, if you have like the Democrats have no primary races going on, they could cross over and influence a race. I think that went on in Mississippi, but I'm not an expert in that situation.
Okay. All right.
But what was clear there was just what I'm saying. The party bosses decided to dump a whole lot of money because they knew who was better for Mississippi than the Mississippi voters. And there's an arrogance there and a big government kind of arrogance that just seems out of place in the Republican Party.
All right, Todd, I got to have you back. I only got about 90 seconds. The big question is, you think the Republicans get their act together not only for 2014, this election cycle, but for 2016?
Well, I'm no expert at whether they're going to just keep making the same mistakes over again or not. And certainly, I'm extremely hopeful. I think that the tremendous failure of the Obama administration maybe even has dawned on some independent voters. But I also would say in the conclusion of Firing Back, which I highly recommend to people, it's not much of a political conclusion. It says the trouble we have in politics is because we have trouble in self-government, family government, and church government. We take a look at that. And I think the heart of the American people needs to change, and that will help drive politics.
Do you think we will return to the faith of our forefathers?
Well, I know there are some people, such as myself, who I've done a lot of studying on our founders, and I love the forefathers. I love the principles America was built on, and I'm an engineer, first of all, by training. And so those are the things, those are the good ideas that made America what it's like. And yet we've got half the population that are voting for ideas that are ideas that will enslave people. They're very bad ideas. And the question is can that be turned around? And by an act of God, yes, and without it, I think we're in trouble.
Well, you're an inspiration, Todd. I want to have you back and get into this media thing because I think it's a key point as we go into this election cycle, and we'll do that when your schedule will allow. But the book is entitled Firing Back. Check it out. Forward by Governor Mike Huckabee, taking on the party bosses and media elite to protect our faith and freedom. And the book comes with great reviews in the back by Oliver North, Tony Perkins, David Barton, Michelle Bachman, Steve King. Thank you, Todd. Blessings on you, and let's get together soon, okay?
Hey, I'd like to do that, Perry, and God's blessings on your wonderful audience too this day.
All right, have a good one. All right. Again, the book is entitled Firing Back. You may want to check it out at the bookstores, and we'll get Todd back, and we'll take on the media thing because it's an issue that I think is very, very, very important as we head into this election cycle come this fall. All right, stay tuned. Great programming continues both on the Dove Radio and Dove TV.